Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of RE Radar. Once again, I'm your host and realtor, Nathan Matheson. If you are new here, welcome. RE Radar, what we are all about, is a place for real estate education and bringing some real estate knowledge to the average Joe out there that might one day want to buy a home, or maybe you already do, and maybe you want to buy more, or maybe you want to sell the one you live in currently. Either way, we have got you covered here on RE Radar, and we are here to provide you guys some knowledge so that you can go into those transactions with more confidence. As well, real estate, it is expensive. So it can be very stressful if you're not fully prepared and understand the situation that you are getting yourself into. So let's get right into it and bring that education to you guys. And how we're going to be doing it this week is by tackling the question of how do I know when a house is the one? A lot of people think you'll just walk in and instantly know. And well, sometimes that does happen. But most of the time, that mindset actually causes people to hesitate, overthink, or just miss out on some really good opportunities. So today, I want to really reframe that whole idea because the truth is, you don't find the perfect house, you define it before you ever even walk in the door. The biggest mistake that I see buyers make is they start touring homes before they've really taken a step back and asked themselves one simple question of, why am I moving? And not just the reason of, well, I want a house, but what's actually the goal of buying that house? Because if you don't have a clear answer to that, every house that you walk into is going to feel, well, maybe this is right. This seems good, but there's going to be something about it that just holds you back. And that's where a lot of people often get stuck and they end up just touring homes and looking around for a house for month after month. They'll see 10, 15, 20 homes and none of them quite feel like the one for them. And it's not because the right home isn't out there. Maybe they were even in it, but it's because they never clearly took a step back and defined what right actually means to them. So before you even start seriously touring homes, you need to get clear on your why, because that changes everything for you in terms of your mindset and what you're doing when you're out there shopping for a home. So let me give you a few examples. If you're a first time home buyer, well, there's a few things your goal might be. Perhaps it's simply the idea of getting your foot in the door. You want to start building equity and simply just go from renting to owning. Now, that is a very different definition of a perfect home than someone who is going to be upgrading into their forever home. They've already done the starter home. Maybe they even had another home between. And now that person's looking for the starter home. So if you're moving up, maybe it's the idea of you need more space. You've been in a small 1,000 square foot home. Now you need 2,000 square feet. Or you want that preferred layout. You've been in a home that had just boxy rooms, small rooms, no open layout. You want an open floor concept. Or maybe it's as simple as you've realized there's something about the home you currently live in that you hate, and you want to get a new home that does not have that specific trait. Now, if you're downsizing, your why might be just you need less maintenance. You need a home that is more set up. You need simple homes. You need convenience with maybe a single level living with no stairs so that you can age in place. Or perhaps you're relocating for work. Well, maybe then it's all going to be about that specific location for you. How long of a commute is it to work? And what is the proximity to whatever matters most in your life? Because maybe you're relocating for a family situation, so you need to be close to certain people. That is all going to be important for you to determine from the get-go. As well, two people, they can walk into the exact same house, and one of them might think it's perfect. The other one won't even consider it, as it all comes back to their goal. What is the goal behind this purchase? What is your why? And this is especially important for first-time buyers. You have to understand your first home, it probably is not going to check every single box. Maybe it does, but more than likely it doesn't. And that's perfectly okay. It's not supposed to. Your first home, it is a stepping stone nowadays. It is how you get into the market and start building equity in order to create options for you to have in the future in buying that perfect dream home of yours. If you're sitting there waiting around for the perfect home right out the gate, well, there's a very good chance that you're going to be waiting a long, long time, and you'll miss opportunities that would have actually been really solid moves for the current situation you're in that you want to get out of renting and get into home ownership. You want to find a home that can appreciate, or you want to find a home that's rentable after you end up moving out. Now, once you're clear on your why, the next step is to build a framework. This is where things really start to get practical. And I kind of break it down into three different categories. First is those non negotiables. These are the things that you're not willing to compromise on. If a house doesn't have one of these non negotiables, then it's not the one. End of story. You don't even have to tour it. Examples of these could be a specific school district you want to be in, certain number of bedrooms you need, distance from work. Everyone's list is different, but you need to know yours from the get-go when you go out there to try to buy a home. Otherwise, you're just going to end up wasting a lot of time. The next up, you've got the nice to have list. These are things that you want, you'd love to have them, but you don't absolutely need. Maybe it's the idea of an updated kitchen. Maybe it's a big fenced backyard. Maybe it's a 2-car garage. Maybe you want to have a view. These are kind of the things that you are going to be comparing homes to that already have your non-negotiables. So these homes, they check the boxes of, okay, they've got this is what I need. They have that. But now let's compare these two homes that both have that. Which one has more of your wants? Which one has more of the things you really prefer? Well, then that's going to be the better home for you. But the key thing here is if a home doesn't have one of these traits that you would like, it should not be the reason that you pass on a great opportunity. Because if it is, well, then that thing that you like is, I guess, more of a non-negotiable for you. So you have to get your list in order from the get-go. Now, similar to the non-negotiables, there are the deal breakers. Now, these are the things that you certainly cannot have at that house you buy. You do not want them. Sometimes people kind of forget about that when they're looking for a home. They get blinded by all the positives of a house and all the things they really want in a house, and they forget to look for the negatives. Maybe it's being on a busy street. Maybe it's having a bunch of stairs. If this is your downsizing or age-in-place home, well, you're not going to be buying a townhome. Maybe it's a certain area that you don't like for whatever reason. You don't want to live there. Or maybe it's simply the fact that you do not want to have a major fixer-upper big project home. Those are the negatives. Those are the things you don't want. So if a home has those, avoid that home. And if you don't define all these up front, you're going to find yourself trying to talk yourself into homes that you really shouldn't be buying in the first place, as there's something about them that is not going to fit your lifestyle or the goal of the reason behind this purchase. Now, once you've built out that framework, something really important happens. When you start touring homes, it just becomes a lot more simpler, a lot more straightforward, because you're going to walk into a house and you're not just going to be reacting emotionally. You're evaluating the criteria. You're asking, does it meet my non-negotiables? Does it avoid the deal breakers? What type of wants does it have? Does it have some of the things I really would love? And if it doesn't check those boxes for you, well, then you can move on without overthinking it, as that simply is not the house for you. That alone is going to eliminate a ton of stress and wasted time for you as a buyer when you go out there looking for a home. Now, with that said, there is an emotional side to buying a home. And I do believe that it is important, because you will feel something when you walk into a house. Sometimes you walk in and it just feels good. There's something about it. Other times you feel a little off. And, you can't really always explain this feeling, but my take on it is pretty simple. I'm someone who I say trust your gut, especially if you're seeing a home multiple times and every time that same kind of questioning feeling comes up. Well, that usually means something in my eyes. Even if on paper the house checks most of your boxes, there might be something about it that just doesn't align with what you actually want. And ignoring that feeling inside of you it usually doesn't end well. And you might not be happy in that home in a year or two. And that's not what I want. I want someone to love the home they move into. So when it comes to finding the one, it's not just about logic and it's not just about emotion. It is a combination of both these aspects. The way you kind of can look at it is logic is what is going to be filtering your options. And then the emotional component is what is going to confirm your decision in the end, not the other way around. It's not emotion leading the way, because if you lead with emotion and you kind of just use emotion, you can really make a lot of bad decisions. Now, if you lead with logic only, you can end up having a house that just never feels fully right. The correct home for you is what is sitting right between that. You got to use some emotion, you got to use the logic, you got to use them together to find that perfect home. So if you're out there trying to figure out whether a house is the one, take a step back, do the work first, get clear on your why, build that framework out, understand what actually matters to you. Because when you've done that, the right house, it doesn't feel confusing. It feels obvious. It's going to stand out. It's going to be clear. You got your list, the boxes are checked, the emotional component is there. Boom, bam, wham, buy that house. Now, as always, if you have a specific question for me, or if you're thinking about buying or selling and just want some assistance with building out that framework, feel free, reach out to me, and I'm always happy to chat. And if you got some value out of this, feel free, share it with someone who's in this process right now, as it might be more helpful for them than they could realize. Now, that is all that I've got for y'all. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Nathan Matheson, and this has been RE Radar. Peace.